Good evening, and thank you for coming on relatively short notice. My name is Brian Long. I'm the Public Affairs Director for the Department of Agriculture and spokesman for the State Fair. With me are Agriculture Commissioner Steve Troxler, Wake County Sheriff Donnie Harrison, and whose agency, of course, has been leading this investigation, and State Fair Public Safety Chief Joel Keith. The purpose for this briefing is to give you an update about the ride accident that occurred Thursday night and what the investigation has shown to date. And for that, I'm going to ask Sheriff Harrison to come up.
Let me start out by saying this is still an ongoing investigation involving this ride. It will be for some time. And I want to say thanks to everybody that was involved, EMS, every police agency that was out here, and the public. The public's helped us tremendously by calling in. Through our investigation, talking to witnesses, talking to ride operators, talking to ride workers, working with the Department of Labor, we have determined that this ride was tampered with after the inspection, and that critical safety devices were tampered with and compromised. There has been one arrest made in Dwayne Tutterrow, 46 years old, out of Georgia. He was the ride operator. He will be charged with 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, inflicting serious bodily injury. And like I say, not a whole lot more I can tell you about this because it is an ongoing investigation. The question I know is going to be asked, will there be other arrests? And the answer is yes, probably will be. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Troxler.
First, I want to thank Sheriff Harrison and his staff, and Labor Commissioner Cherie Berry and their staff for the work they've done on this investigation. It has been a thorough investigation, and I want to state up front, they have asked me to be patient. It is hard for me to do that when this is the State Fair. What I know is that my staff and our partners put so much work into making this a safe, enjoyable venue. And when something like this happens, you do want answers, and you want to know why it happened. And I think we have just a few of those answers now, but I know it's an ongoing investigation, and there's still a lot of information to be gathered. They have been very diligent and focused on this investigation, and I want to reiterate, this investigation is focused on one ride. This one ride is the only ride that this operator has at the State Fair, so this is a focused investigation on what happened on this one ride. And I also want to thank Chief Joel Keith that leads our Fairgrounds Police for the work that he's put into it, and I thank you for your patience in this investigation. I want you to know one thing. It makes me mad to think that anybody would put people's safety in danger like they have. And I'm not mad, I'm furious. And people are going to have their day in court, and they're going to be convicted or not. But just the thought that somebody would do something like this, I can't hardly stand it, and that's where my patience runs thin. The other thing I want to reiterate is I want to ask people to continue to pray for these people that are still in the hospital, the victims of this tragic accident. And we do want to hope for their speedy recovery throughout this. And I think the family would appreciate knowing that we all understand what has happened to them, and we are praying for them. And I do thank the public for that. Thank you.
We do have a few minutes for some questions, but do want to reemphasize what the sheriff said about this being an ongoing investigation.
Sheriff, the charge assault deadly weapon, you said that he was tampering. What exactly was it that he did?
Well, that's part of the investigation. That's why I said it wouldn't be a whole lot of answers I would give you tonight. Reason being, we still have that ride in our custody, will be in our custody till we finish. We want to inspect it again and again and again until we're sure we've got all of our questions asked. So I can't talk about it.
Will there be daily inspections of that vehicle?
Will there be daily inspections? Not necessarily daily, but we've got some people we want to talk to see if they'll come in and that knows that ride from one end to the other. The Labor Department has been great working with us. They have helped us tremendously. They know this ride, and they're the ones that inspected it with us and showed us some things that we know that was done intentionally, and that's the reason these charges have been made.
Just for clarity's sake, when we talk about intentional tampering, is that strictly just a negligence issue, or is this something that was tampered with because they were targeting somebody who may have been on that ride? Do you know yet?
No, targeting someone, no. That doesn't even, yes, correct. It was something, like I say, it's part of the investigation. I'd rather not get into that, but it was tampered with intentionally, probably to keep that ride operating. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yes.
3 people that were hospitalized, what condition are they in right now? The 5, but the 2 have been released.
2 have been released. And again, they asked for their privacy. We put their names in there, but they still don't want their address given out, and they want their privacy. Do not know that. I have spoken with one, telling them if they need us, telling them that the governor and commissioner has voiced their concerns, and that everybody's really upset about this, because as the commissioner says, this is a place that we want to bring our kids, grandkids. We want the people to come and enjoy it, and to somebody to intentionally do something like this, we want to make sure we take care of business, and I think we have, and still got some work to do.
How is this affecting state fair numbers and et cetera?
Well, if you look at yesterday's attendance, Friday attendance, it was down. It totaled 82,100 and some odd people yesterday. That was down about 10,000 from the second Friday a year ago. However, you also have to keep in mind that last night was pretty cold, and weather is always a factor in attendance, and if you lose your nighttime crowd, you're going to have an impact on your overall daily total. Yesterday's attendance was still above average by almost 4,000, so you know, we could speculate all we want about what the factors were. We've still had over 707,000 people come to the fair, you know, during its run so far. That is a very good number. That's a high number. Is it a record year? No, but not every year can be a record year.
Let me say this. My grandson came out last night not as to get on the ride just to be getting on the ride. He came out because he wanted to come out, and I think the commissioners had some children to come out. So we feel comfortable as safety. Joe Keefe and the fair manager Wester White, they're on top of it. This is a very safe state fair, and I'm proud to be working with them. They want nothing but the best, and so does the commissioner. So I wouldn't be standing up here and saying that if I didn't believe it.
I realize there's only 1 day left, but does this change anything for future state fairs? Any sort of protocol for criteria on what people have to be able to be a ride operator?
You know, I think we're going to thoroughly examine the ride policy that we have at the state fair, and look at, do there need to be any changes. I said before that I think this is an isolated incident. I've been here 9 years as Commissioner of Agriculture. Nothing like this has ever happened before. I remain confident that Powers Great American Amusements is a great carnival operator. In fact, he was presented with a award for safety before we opened the fair. So, you know, I believe this is an incident of somebody that did something that they should not have done and has been charged with a crime. And I know the Sheriff Harrison is going to make sure that he does everything for this investigation, and our partners are going to do the same thing. But you can believe that with my grandchildren coming out here riding, the Sheriff's grandchildren coming out here riding, and it's beyond that, with any kid or anybody in North Carolina that gets on these rides, we want them to be as safe as they can possibly be. That's what this fair is about.
It's also been reported that a ride operator, I believe, either was or may have been one of the people who was hospitalized. Are we talking about Tutterrow? Was he hospitalized?
I believe it was a ride attendant that was actually hospitalized, and I believe he had a wrist problem or something like that.
He was released the same night.
Two different people.
That's correct.
And
Moving forward, plan on having this ride back here, or?
no. I do want to emphasize the ride is closed. It has been closed since Thursday night. It will not reopen. It's under the custody of the sheriff's office as part of the investigation. Also want to make sure, and it's in your written material that we handed out, this ride is owned by an independent operator out that this is the only ride that operator has here. Powers Great American Midways is the overall primary contractor for our carnival at the fair, and this ride is not owned by that company. So just want to make sure we know that.
That's one other thing. Just again for clarity, this may sound very simple, but what is a ride operator? The sheriff had mentioned that the other person was a ride attendant. What's the difference? What is a ride operator?
You have, and this is my understanding, and others can correct me if I'm wrong, but a ride operator would be one who is in charge of the controls of the ride. A ride attendant typically is someone who helps people get on and off the ride. So that's the main difference.
When a ride comes from Georgia, is there more than one ride operator, or is there one ride operator who stays with that ride all throughout the entire length of the fair?
I do not know the staffing level. I know that this particular ride had multiple employees from that company associated with it. I don't know how many, and I don't know what all of their roles were.
But at the time the accident happened, Timothy Tutterrow was the person who was in charge of that ride.
I'm going to defer to someone else with that.
That's correct. He was the ride operator and the foreman of that ride at the time. In answer to your other question, yes, there are other rides and this ride has more than one operator, but he was the foreman of it. It is according to the ride. Different rides have different operators, different ways of doing things. So, but we're basing everything off on this one ride because this is the only ride that's under investigation.
I want to make sure I heard this gentleman's name right. Who's in charge? Can someone spell his name for me?
His name is, yeah, hang on just a second.
It's on the website, Brian.
It's on the website already. His name is Timothy Dwayne Tutterrow. Timothy, traditional spelling, Dwayne, D-W-A-Y-N-E, Tutterrow, T-U-T-T-E-R-R-O-W,
Okay.
age 46.
46. And he works for Powers Great America, or he works for this company that made this ride?
He works for the company. He does not work for Powers. He works for the company that brought this particular ride to the fair.
That's our in what our investigation has shown at this time. Like I say, we're not going to discuss any of that because it's an ongoing investigation.